Let's face it, there's something curious about the fact that, of all the women in the world, Jesus supposedly chose to impregnate Sydney Sweeney.
Out of all the women in the world, why did he choose me?
You told me. Who saved your life? Who sent you on the path that led you here, Cecilia? You've been searching for a reason. God saved you. This is it. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
Hello, how are you? My name is José Rey, film critic for Flixion, and thank you very much for playing this video in which we'll talk about Immaculate, a film directed by Michael Mohan and produced and starred in by Sydney Sweeney. It's worth noting that this film truly exists thanks to Sydney Sweeney. Originally, this film was planned to be shot around 2014, and Sydney Sweeney was among the candidates to star in the project. However, it ultimately did not secure the funding needed to go forward and was cancelled. Later, the now much more famous Sydney Sweeney, with successes in television such as Euphoria and commercial films like Anyone But You and Madame Web, which, despite not being a good movie or a success per se, helped her a lot in making contacts, decided to take on this project of Immaculate. Thus, the young actress, who I repeat, is a young actress, purchased the rights to the film's screenplay, hired a director, helped with casting, and more. In other words, without her, this film would not have been possible. For me, that's saving cinema. And finally, what was the result? A 100% horror film, and quite a good one. Immaculate is a horror film that manages to bring together the horror of the inexplicable and the terror of the human experience. The story follows Sister Cecilia, Sydney Sweeney, a nun who, just weeks after dedicating her life to the service of God, becomes pregnant despite being a virgin. The reality is that behind this miracle lies the evil of someone who believes they can play with the laws of divinity. After an agonizing and suffocating initial scene where a young nun is pursued and buried alive by what seems to be a cult, Sister Cecilia arrives from the United States at a beautiful and ancient convent in Italy that serves exclusively as a retirement home for sisters who are about to leave this plane. What initially seems to be a rather illogical and foolish start ends up gaining considerable strength as the plot progresses. Cecilia's arrival does not go unnoticed at the convent. Some question her presence and doubt her faith, while others, like Father Sal Tedeschi, Álvaro Morte, the professor from Money Heist, are quite excited about her arrival. Eventually, after a couple of scares, Cecilia undergoes the official ceremony where she dedicates her life to the Lord. During the celebration, she enters a hidden room with an altar. Before she can investigate what's there, a Mother Superior finds her, but far from being upset by her presence. The nun explains why that corner is so important. There, the place holds its most precious treasure, one of the nails with which Jesus himself was crucified, which Cecilia ends up touching. Days later, our protagonist becomes pregnant. This pregnancy is not at all welcomed by Cecilia, but for the convent, it's the ultimate miracle. She becomes the Virgin Mary who will bring forth the new Savior. The film continues with several tension-filled moments, which, being very honest, I am quite a coward, so I might not be the best judge, that work very well. By far, the most outstanding scene is the failed escape. But the real horror arrives when the truth is revealed. The higher-ups of the convent know about the power of Jesus' nails, and have spent years trying to impregnate virgins with the aim of bringing forth the new Son of God. Along the way, many have lost their lives due to abortions, or are eliminated by a cult. What really makes Immaculate stand out is that, despite the paranormal experience of becoming pregnant by nails, the reality is that all the terror scenes are produced by human action. This is not foreign to this new stage of the genre, where cults or real groups are the ones producing the real horror. Recent films like Soft and Quiet, Knock at the Cabin, M3 GAN, and the best of all, Get Out, have been showcasing this idea that new terror needs a human push.
The final stretch of Immaculate is very good, one of those that ends up approving the film and worth the ticket price. The final decision not to show the newborn is correct. The sound and duration of that moment are quite uncomfortable. A moment is perfectly achieved. On the other hand, the film ends up reaffirming the great future that awaits Sydney Sweeney, not just as an actress. It's worth noting that she also acts as a producer on this film. At this point, to think she is just a pretty face is quite simplistic and disrespectful. It's also worth mentioning the great work of Álvaro Morte, who embodies a very good villain. Another positive aspect is its duration and treatment. A short and precise story. A great recommendation to watch.